imagine what's going on in the people's minds that are making the trans murderer of children, school children, out to be a victim in all of this? All of the leftist media organizations that are saying that there are two sets of victims, the children and the murderer. No, somebody went in cold blood and murdered 6 people in all. A mass shooting by a trans activist, and they are making out her, him, it to be the victim. This is the evil of the modern day left, where they want the manifesto of a white man who shot up viciously and evilly a black area of Buffalo. They want the manifesto published. But here they want to keep the manifesto quiet. This woman did write this, but they don't want to release it. And there are many advocating that it not ever be released. Why? So we can see the depravity and evil that went into this person's mind, so that we can see the concocted potion of lies and manipulation that went into her head that enabled her to justify in her mind this horrific and brutal act of murder of school children. And yet the media wants to equivocate and say, well, you know what she did, it might have been wrong, but you have to understand the reasons that she did it. No, I don't understand the reasons that anybody would go out and murder school children, because that is what the bottom issue is. The fact that this media is feeding in to this frenzy, and everybody's saying that because certain conservatives and sane people desire that their children not be sexualized, that child drag shows, that they not be taught transgender in school in order that these ideas are planted in, making them more likely to transition. And if you see the spate of recent transitions and people that identify as trans, it is shooting up. It is a social contagion that is taking place amongst school children, because they're being confused, and it's being done intentionally. And then you have the media covering for them. Why? Because they want the social justice points, because they want to virtue signal, because they truly believe and are trying to tear down America. It could be for a combination or any of these reasons. But then you have people that go out on social media, like I made a video yesterday of the speaker for the governor of Arizona, who stated, us when we see transphobes. Yes, she resigned. Thank God she was resigned. And people are calling this cancel culture. When you mock, when you encourage the deaths of people, that's not the same as digging up a tweet from 10 years ago and saying, look at what this guy did. Look at what this guy did. What an evil being he is. Everybody distance yourself from him. It's not quite the same thing when you encourage violence, which is what the press secretary for Katie Hobbs, the governor of Arizona, was doing. And you have the media that is, in many, many cases, citing or equivocating and covering for the trans community. On Reddit, you can't even say anything negative about trans people, even question whether or not they should be allowed to command that you use their pronouns, in violation of the First Amendment and in violation of the personal sovereignty of the individual. These leftists are demagogues that demand acquiescence to their ideas, to their platform. And if you dare counter them in any way, then they do use cancel culture to go after you. Then they do call you evil. But when a trans activist goes out and commits this evil act, they try to equivocate and state that it's because of the hatred of trans people. Nobody hates trans people. Well, maybe some do. I don't hate trans people. I'm just saying, leave us alone. Don't try to subject our children to this. I can treat you as an individual. I can agree to call you the pronouns if you don't try to force me to, but don't bring this around our children. But because we said, by law, using the legal system that we have used as Americans to settle our differences, and there was a law passed in Tennessee, no drag shows, that becomes reason enough for the leftists to defend this horrific murder. Just imagine if those were your children, your parents, that were killed by this evil being. And then they say, well, what about the misgendering in the news? Fuck you. Who cares? This is an evil person that should be rotting at the depths of hell, with the soul brought up again, tortured and tortured and tortured. And if that makes me a bad person, well, then what do you call this horrific murderer? Oh, a victim if you're on the left-hand side of the aisle. I forgot. My bad.